Hello, and welcome to the Activation Nation podcast, your weekly source of actionable advice from industry experts in self-development, LifeVantage products, and more to help you activate your wellness, your business, and your life. Today's episode focuses on success stories with our Evolve compensation plan. But first, the legal stuff. You may hear our guests talk about the income they've earned or how their health has been affected with LifeVantage. Please note that the average annual earnings of a typical active LifeVantage consultant in 2022 was $885. For the most up-to-date information, please click the link in our show notes. Any product statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Our products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And now, here's your host to dive into today's story to help you activate your life.
Welcome back to another episode of the Activation Nation podcast. I had the opportunity to sit down with our amazing field leaders, Mark and Lori Welch out of California. They are some of the kindest and most genuine people I have had the opportunity to work with here at LifeVantage. It's so fun to see them in person where they remember your name and embrace you with a big, giant hug. We had the opportunity to talk a little bit about the Evolve compensation plan change and how they found small successes to be able to recognize on their team to help keep them and their field leaders focused on the long-term goals. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, super glad to be
honored
with you. Thanks, Selena.
No, it's so fun to have you on. We're going to talk a little bit today about the changes that came with the Evolve compensation plan. And, you guys have had so much success with the plan and are seen as such important leaders to our field. And we're excited to talk to you a little bit about how that transition has gone for you and your team.
Okay. That's great. Have there been changes?
Just a few. Does it feel like the same company you joined, or does it feel a little bit different now, Lori and Mark?
What do you think, Laura?
Well, obviously, there has been some significant changes, and quite honestly, we've been very impressed by the way corporate has cautiously and carefully walked us through those changes.
Oh, yeah.
And there are times that it does feel like a brand new company, but it's with the same solid, stable people that we have been working alongside of for a long time. And so in some ways, yes, it does feel a little new, but in other ways, it feels very familiar.
Yeah, I think my feeling is that, change isn't necessarily easy for people, but without it, where would we ever get? You think about where you were 20 years ago. Are you still in the same place doing the same thing?
Right.
And if you were refusing to change, you couldn't have grown. So we've just seen this as a time to grow, a time to reset, reevaluate, and get busy to learn all the new ways in the Evolve program.
Well, I think quite honestly, we as a society have really learned how to deal with change a lot in the last few years with all the things that happened during COVID. So,
that's true. It's been kind of a wild ride for all of us the last few years of just kind of the unexpected and how do we react to it and how do we adjust?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's fun that you said it feels like a brand new company, but also with the same people that you trust. Do you feel like that's kind of the best of both worlds going through something like this?
I will just say that I've tried to look at it like moving into a new house.
Okay.
The important thing is not all the difference. Where are the rooms? Where are the things? It's who you're with. And, anybody that's lost family members knows that, it's the journey with those people that makes it matter. And we are still with our family here. We feel confident because there are leaders that worked on this. There are corporate leaders. There are field leaders that we trust. We've known these people for a while. And we trust these field leaders that have helped kind of forged the way into this. We trust our CEO, and it's kind of like saying, okay, we're in a new place. It's kind of a new way of doing things because it has to be, but we're still with these people that we really care about. We know they care about us. They've got our back and so forth. That's kind of the way I viewed it.
Well,
I love that. I love that mostly because my family just moved, Mark. So we're like literally in a new house, but surrounded by boxes. And every day we're like, it's going to be okay. We're going to find a new community. We did this together. We did it for a reason. And so going through that personally right now, just with a physical move, you're right. So much of it is, it's not about the house. It's not about what rooms there are or how you're going to decorate. It very much is, who are you on this journey with? So I love that analogy.
Thanks.
Well, and the other thing is that we've been around long enough, and we've been in the ministry for years and years and years. And one thing that we've learned along the way is, with change comes challenge. It's always, you got to expect it. But what also comes along with it is incredible opportunity that can't happen without change. And so we looked for that part as we were going through it and zeroed in on it with our team and just said, you guys, look at this opportunity. It may be bumpy, but it's okay. We're going to get through this. And we were pretty excited to see what it was doing for so many people on our team. So, yeah.
Lori, when you saw those opportunities, how did you help people, like in your coaching conversations, how did you help them see the opportunity and build an action plan? Because I think sometimes change or just the fear of change can be overwhelming. How did you help your team move from maybe the overwhelm into action?
That's a really good question. And during the Evolve, when they first rolled it out, they did a really good job of explaining everything, but it's so hard to absorb everything in one fell swoop. So I realized at that point, my team is not going to do more than I am. And so I'm going to need to really learn this and understand it. I need to drive a bunch of people crazy to get answers to the questions that are floating around in my head in order to be able to help the team. So we were actually on a tour during the time. I think we were gone for a month.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget pacing up and down our RV, making phone calls and calling a lot of the other elites and leaders.
Yeah.
And asking them a ton of questions. And what did you do about this? What happens with this? What do we do here? And then I switched to calling the leadership line a lot. It was so funny because literally when I call up there now, they know my number, they know my voice. They just, hi, Lori, because I drove.
That's true.
Calling your people, Lori. They're like, yes, she has more questions. That means she's still engaged and excited.
Well, and I can't tell you how grateful we are for their attitude. I mean, they were so wonderful as we went through this, and they didn't always have the answers to the questions either. Sometimes they had to go and get answers and come back to us.
That's right. And Selena, I was thinking about this. I learned a long time ago that when you're teaching, you're growing.
That's true.
When you are setting yourself into the place of leadership, if nobody's following you, you're just taking a walk. That's what John Maxwell says. You think you're a leader, nobody's following, you're taking a walk. But, we have some people that are depending on us. And so we know that learning what we need to learn. And my mom told me this. My mother was a teacher. She was a school teacher all my life. And she was a really good teacher. And when she retired in her 60s from teaching, and then she couldn't stand being retired. She went back 2 more times and taught in private schools. She couldn't teach in the public system, but she went back and taught in the private schools till she was in her early 70s. And one of the years in one of these schools, she had to teach French, and she didn't know French. I was like, Mom, how are you doing this? And she goes, Mark, I'm a teacher. I only have to be 1 lesson ahead.
Oh, that's an interesting insight.
And she goes, I just need to know what I need to teach next. And I learned that, and then I teach it. And I thought, boy, that has served me so well over the years and us, because Lori and I knew, okay, these questions are going to come. What are they? And let's get the answers. And then and if we don't know them, admit it.
And put the action plan together.
And talk about that, Lori.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Selena would like that. Would you let Selena action plan?
I mean, I think everyone's curious, because you're right. Like, Lori, you mentioned like there was a lot to consume, and then you realized you had to break it into small chunks. Mark, that whole concept of like, you just need to know what you need to know next, and taking it kind of step by step is so important when we're looking at like the breadth of the changes, right? Like, you don't want to feel overwhelmed, and you also don't want to end up paralyzed, because you can spend a lot of time learning about the new plan, or, going through and watching the old trainings or studying the materials, but you really do have to put it into action to be able to start building towards the new plan. Because in our experience, that's when it really clicks for people, is when they're teaching someone else or they're seeing it get into action. So how did you go and get your team from, understanding the plan, how it works, to actually building the action plan to build towards the new plan and embrace maybe different ways of doing business?
Well, yeah. So, not only was there major changes because of Evolve, but there was also major changes at the same time because of people's change of lifestyle because of COVID.
Yeah.
So, it used to be that we would get together in person all the time and meet up all the time and things. People got used to not doing that. And so it was really a lot of phone calls and Zooms and things that we were doing, and making sure that people were not getting left behind. So we started by making a list of action points that Mark and I talked about, and we kind of filtered what all needed to be done. And we got it down to about the top 7 things that we needed to focus on with the team. And then we just divided and conquered.
Yeah.
We called all of our main leaders that were like the equivalent of Pro 4 and above.
Yeah.
We started with them, and we just got in their heads and their hearts and told them how excited we were about these changes. And even though it was scary, we were excited, and we were depending on them to really help the team move forward. And here are the 7 things that we've identified. Have you looked at anything? Have you seen anything that we haven't seen? And let's work together. Let's lock arms. Let's run together.
I'm laughing right now because somebody listening to this is going to say, I'm going to call Mark and Lori and find out what those 7 things are. And
I mean, I was thinking that. I'm like, I wonder, do they have it like in a note they sent out?
You still have that list around?
Oh, I do.
Oh, do you? Okay.
But I don't know where it is.
But it's kind of passé now, because we've been, one of the things in our action plan was a dedication to getting people to their own information. And the company rolled out such great tools. I mean, under the Evolve hyperlink at the bottom of everybody's website, that became our mantra. Well, most of this you can understand by just going to that hyperlink, the Evolve hyperlink, once that was out. And leading them.
You talking about the video?
Yeah, all the videos on the comp. And, And, once that stuff was in place, after March 1, it was a lot easier, because then we always have a point of reference place, and we know that great people are putting together good tools. If you just explain stuff to people, it doesn't work so much. But if you get them involved somehow, and they take their own steps, like going to look at videos and watching and reading through some of the information, that was helpful too.
Right. And then, I think one of the things too that we did with the entire team, not just with the leaders, was we just said, hey, we've got your backs. There's been some changes, and we just want to make sure that you understand what your part is, so that you don't get left behind or leave money on the table. Yeah. And so we just kind of muddled our way through there for a few weeks to make sure that people, we're moving in the right direction. That's and right. Not freezing up, because changes, what we've noticed in business before, is change can make people freeze.
Yeah.
And we had an experience with that early on at LifeVantage. Our mentor was pretty high up in the company, actually the highest.
Yeah, he ended up gone.
And he was gone. And because of that, there was a lot of challenges that were related to that, and everybody froze. Yeah. And so we didn't want to see that happen again. So we learned from some of that in the past.
We sure did.
And meeting people kind of where they are and getting them involved is so important because, you guys did an incredible job leading your team through change, and you can't be available 24/7. So I love that you found ways to get people to their own resources, to get them watching the compensation plan training series, because those videos were intended to really break down the Evolve compensation plan into really small bite-sized chunks so that it wasn't overwhelming when you watch just the share section, or you go learn just about fast track if you've enrolled someone new. So it's awesome that you found a way to get them to take some ownership and to know where to go, so that if, you couldn't pick up the phone, or you were on another meeting, or, you were doing something with your family, that people still had what they needed to answer their questions and to keep them involved in the business.
Right. And I just have to say here too, that we are deeply grateful for how everyone at corporate helped all of us. We know that most of you guys were working 24/7 there for quite a while, for weeks leading up to and weeks after the change. And without that, we would have been really messed up. But we're just so grateful.
Yes,
everyone's part.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about another thing, Selena, if you don't mind too.
Yeah, of course.
I was thinking about how important mindset has to be.
Absolutely.
Because Lori and I, more than once in our life, have faced major changes going on in our life. And we've had to shake hands, literally like a business transaction as a couple, and say, nothing's going to get so bad that we have to complain. I mean, having proactivity to solve problems is one thing, but having a negative attitude will ruin you. And so we just said, look, we're not going to complain. We're going to embrace the change. And, that takes a lot of daily reaffirmation, frankly.
Yeah.
You because you get tempted when things get tough to go, man, I wish I it's the coulda, woulda, shoulda thing. I wish we could go back to the way it was, or it used to be this way. And you got to have a positive focus towards the future, or you can't overcome these obstacles. And so that became a pretty important part of our prayers, a part of our thought process.
We prayed our way through.
We have a faith base, and we believe that the past doesn't have to equal the future, but it can be better even if you just embrace. You got to change with it, and you got to keep the right attitude. So that was important for at least me. I can tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been trained by so many here at LifeVantage how important it is to really dive into personal growth, and those kinds of things prepare us for times like that. Right?
Yeah.
And the foundation you go back to when you're in the middle of something that maybe feels, a little unsettling, or it just feels a little disorienting. You go back to kind of those skills you've learned and those tools you have from that personal development you've already done.
That's right.
Yeah. I think 90% of our business in this kind of business is mental and attitude. It really is belief and all of that. So you got to keep your heart right.
Yeah.
As your team started kind of embracing the plan and staying positive and going through the change, what successes have you seen for yourself or for members of your team with the new Evolve compensation plan?
For at first, we got our leaders on the call the first month after the Evolve change. And we had looked at the whole back office to see how everybody was doing. And we got a lot of data from leadership line and whatnot. And we realized that everybody on our team made more money in that first month, except for us. We went down 17%.
Yeah.
And we were real about that with them. And we said, guys, here's the deal. This is great. Things are better for you guys, and we're just as happy as can be. We went down 17%, and we're okay with that. We want you to know we're okay with that because we believe in the heart of the people behind this. And we're moving forward. We're going to work hard. We've identified what we need to do to get back up to where we were. And we're going to work hard to get there. We're going to help you guys to continue to grow. And we just focused on, what it could be, I think.
Yeah, I think that, if you're in a mine and you run out of a vein, but you find another one, you just shift over to that vein. And that's kind of the way we saw this, because we could all of a sudden at the end of the first month after, at the end of March, a bunch of our people who were, how do you put this? I want to be respectful, hadn't been producing a lot, but they had
maybe they've been a little bit less engaged lately.
Yeah. I mean, the bell curve's alive and well here, and some people are, we know how that works. Anyway, and I mean, as soon as you start understanding where the vein is of the new, the new gold, you move there. So we got a whole bunch of this reaction, and we got now we know where to put our focus. The focus has got to be on customer acquisition. That's part of the new plan. Let's focus on it. Everybody's been talking about it, but now we're seeing it play out. And so then we were able to say to the other leaders, if you really want to grow your business, put some focus in your team on this. New people, they'll get customers, help them get customers. That became a big way we would advance. So we started focusing on that. And then guess what happened? Within a month or two, the leaders started growing their checks. And I mean, it's not in every case, but you could see what was there, what was possible, and refocusing on those things that would actually enhance the overall team effort and bring results pays out. It really does.
Yeah. And I think different leaders kind of had different experiences kind of with the plan rolling out, and businesses were built differently, right? Because we had a different plan before. So I love that you talked about how, you were honest with your team. Like there was a lot of immediate success for certain members of your team, and you guys personally had, a temporary negative impact. And so being able to, as a leader, embrace this is good for my team. And I see the long-term vision because it's helping so many more people in my organization. Did that make it easier when maybe you guys had that temporary negative impact that you maybe were a little bit surprised by? Did that help seeing the immediate success for those in your group and that wider reach of what the plan was going to do long-term?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
And celebrating every little thing made a difference, a big difference for us. And we started really on our team Facebook page, really posting up banners and pictures and celebrating all the people that hit Emerald and then Sapphire. And we just started really, really, making a big out about all of those things and
celebrating the new wins.
Yes.
That people have.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're still learning, but we're celebrating as we're learning. And I think that the feeling of the team during the time was relief, that they had someone that was going to lead them and guide them, that knew it and understood it and had their backs. And so honestly, the last 5 days of the month are always some of our biggest focus.
We put a lot of focus in. Yeah. Once the last subscription runs on the 25th, we really start helping drill down. We're going to talk about this in a few days at Global Convention too.
Ooh, but a little bit of a sneak peek, huh?
We really. I have to give credit where credit's due. Lori does most of the drill down on the data, and we gather the data on how people are doing. How close are they to a new gem rank? Could they do a little more and hit Onyx, or where are they on their journey to get a new title rank? Are they close to MC1 or and then staying in touch with the team and leaders. I mean, we like to work through our leaders. So if we see somebody under them, they may have missed it. But I'll tell you what, when you teach people what you're doing so that they can teach others, that's the key, and they'll go, how did you know this? Well, here's how the back office works. Here's where we found the information. Take a look at it. Do you see it? Yep. That's how you can do it next month and help your team. And so keeping the leaders informed while we're, staying one-on-one with a lot of people to give them information has been helpful.
Well, I love that you talked about recognizing all the little things because, it's so important for people to feel like they are succeeding and that also someone sees their effort. And so as a leaders to be able to recognize, those gem ranks and to be able to recognize oh my gosh, someone completed a fast track or they did their 3-in-1 or those little things along the way, because that's so important to keeping people feeling like they're succeeding and that this is a place they want to continue to build and grow.
Our people are a lot like children, really. I mean, your kids, if people have kids, they go to a t-ball game and, these kids aren't setting the world on fire with their skill set or anything, but you celebrate every single hit, every single catch, every single win. And people need that. They really do, I think, when they are unsure or getting started or whatever, at a celebration of a win. And then that spreads, and then spread that. Do positive gossip, we call it. So when somebody,
that's a fun way to talk about it.
Yeah, we're not supposed to gossip, but we like positive gossip because if somebody wins, somebody has that's why we love to, Lori does such a great job getting the post up of this month so-and-so hit Onyx or they hit Emerald or whatever, because that just encourages everyone to know that people matter like that. And so that's been important too. Lori's so good at it. I just kind of go along for the ride most of the time on that. But I like to do a lot of applauding when people hit new wins.
Lori, have you seen that shift the culture within your team that you're being really intentional about celebrating those small wins and that positive gossip and making sure that people feel like they're seen? Because there's a lot of work that happens that's not necessarily seen or recognized on the stage or in a big way. Like, do you feel like those little things have really kind of shifted maybe some of your team culture?
A lot. It really has. In fact, I used a lot. Actually, Mark and I think both did this. And I'm sure that many of the other leaders did too. But we used the change of Evolve to re-engage some other people that kind of, like Mark mentioned
That's
earlier, that kind of lost interest. And one gal, actually, I called her up and I said, hey, listen, there's a few things that we could do right now. I know you're getting some small checks in. Let's get some bigger checks for you with some minor changes. And she had not been involved for probably 3 years. And so I met
a long time.
Yeah. She had been disengaged, and we met for coffee. And
she had just become a product user, really.
Right. Yeah. And she took on a big corporate job and a very significant job. So she wasn't really interested in building her side gig, right? And so I said, I get that, and we're just here for you. I just want to make sure that you know about these changes and things. Well, a month after that, she and 20 people got axed from the corporate job. They got on a Zoom call, and 20 of them, they turned off their mics and said that we just want you guys to know that your positions have been eliminated.
Oh, that'd be gut-wrenching.
Yeah. She called Lori right away.
Immediately. And she said, okay, you got to help me really understand this thing because I am in trouble here and I need to build this thing fast. And so we even met again 2 days ago, and she's been really building again. And we met 2 days ago, and she said, I just don't know if I really like this. I said, oh, it's only because you don't understand it. And my confidence in it really helped her snap out of her feeling of like it's a bad thing, And so I realized, Mark and I are the captain of our ship and our team. And we had to really have a strong posture during this time.
Yep, that's true. I love it when you can see that it is being duplicated, because some of the team members under us who have like MC, ranks, creating their own banners of their team when they hit certain places, and then they're posting those, and that just thrills us, because
Right.
When you can see the duplication happen, that the team is growing internally. There's a lot of personal growth going on, and people are owning it, and that's what you need. So,
well, and as the captain of your team, you guys have done a good job of saying this is the behavior that you should emulate. You should recognize people. You should share their successes. We should celebrate. And so it's cool that you guys have done that as leaders, and that you're seeing that change within your team. That you're managing consultants who are that's our new foundational rank, and their small team managers at that point are learning how to do that for the people that they've enrolled as well.
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Well, as the captains of your ship, where are you guys headed? And what advice would you give to people listening who are maybe a little bit nervous, or haven't jumped back in, or just overwhelmed and excited about all the changes?
I would say one thing, and then I want to hear what Lori has to say on this too. This is interesting. We're looking at each other and saying, what are you going to say?
Group interviews or group podcasts are always a little interesting, because maybe Mark's going to steal your thunder, Lori.
I don't know, but one thing I want to say is this isn't over. I mean, we haven't figured everything out. Lori and I are still working. We're still working on this. But another thing I want to say is, during change, you need to keep your eyes on the prize. You got to keep your eyes up. If you look too much at the difficulty of the change, it'll be challenging. But if you keep going, we're going to go there, and that's and okay. Now there's a river came through, and we can't get across there. How are we going to get there? And it's going to take a while. I think that we just came into our first full month. It's September right now, of the Evolve program without the transitional model applied.
Full plan rules are started.
I think it's still going to take just a little while, a few months, to figure out who's really in, who wants to be in. How are you going to go from here to here? And so I'm just encouraged to keep a longer view. We know that we're in the best company with the best products and the best comp plan that there is. And so we don't want to lose track of the forest for the trees. We want to keep our focus on where we're headed. And we're headed to next ranks, executive ranks, but you can climb from there, keep going. And we're going to just keep working, and God willing, we'll see some great things happen in our team and for us too.
We have several people on our team that are looking very closely to the executive ranks, and we're trying really hard to get them there and celebrating every time they get even close. We love to celebrate that. So
how exciting. That'll be fun for your team to celebrate those rank advancements together.
Right, exactly.
It is fun to celebrate. Isn't it fun to celebrate?
That's why we're all headed to San Antonio next week, is to get together and to celebrate.
Oh,
that's right.
This is going to be so fun to be together, because it's been a wacky few years, and we don't actually have to be virtual for this convention. It's going to be fun to be together, for sure.
It is. And Mark, I love that you said, we're on the first month. This is September 2023 when we're recording this. And it's our first month of full plan rules. And there's still a lot of learning and a lot of growth that needs to happen. And I think it's important to say, that you mentioned that, you're not all done learning. You're not all done mastering the plan. There's still a lot you as leaders are learning about how to work the plan and how to manage your team through it. And I think that's great advice, is also for people to give themselves a little bit of, grace as they go through change, and a little bit of just like, it's going to be okay. And I don't have to master everything all at once. And it's an iterative process, and it takes time.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about Steve Jobs. I mean, that guy, he was let go by the board of directors of his own company. He was fired for a while from Apple. He went out and started, working in the animation world for a while and built another huge brand out of that. But Apple didn't really become what it is today until he came back. He was brought back because of his ideas. He was brought back, and then Apple just blew up. Of course, Steve Jobs is the late Steve Jobs. Now we know he passed, and that was a sad event. But Apple became great after his what could have been perceived a failure or disappointment, and so he came back, and the dream was still alive. And that's what we need to do. We need to keep our focus on the dream, I believe. And Lori?
Yep, just a thought. And that is that, life is full of changes. Life is full of challenges. It's just life. And we can either approach those and become better, or we can become bitter. And we have to make that choice ahead of time, because how we deal with it when we're faced with it is going to make or break us.
God didn't put us on the earth just to spin our wheels and spend our time. We believe he put us here for a purpose. We've got to help other people's lives. We've got to help make the world a better place. What are we going to leave when we leave this place? And we believe that LifeVantage has given us a great platform to be helpful to people, to help them with their health, perhaps help them get what they need out of life financially or whatever. No promises with any of that. We can't promise, but we can lead. And so keeping our eyes on the prize and keeping the dream alive and focusing on where we're headed is everything right now. It's going to be important in the next few months because seasons of life happen, holidays happen, a lot of stuff's coming. But what can be done a year from now if we keep our focus? That's what we're talking about and thinking about.
We redid our dream board.
Yeah.
And you did. Do you do a physical dream board, like where you actually put it up?
Yep, we put it up. And my mom asked me what we wanted for Christmas last year, and I said, I want a cork board. I'm going to rebuild our dream board. She goes, I love that. So she got us a great big old cork board, and we put it up in our laundry room and just covered it with colorful pictures of everything that we just love and enjoy. And
I think Lori put it in there so I would help do the laundry more often.
Oh, that's a good trick. You get the visualization, and you get a little bit of support with rotating the laundry so it doesn't stay in the washer.
She did such a great job. I mean, I can't stop going in there and looking at it and dreaming and keeping the dream alive. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I got to just tell you this, Selena, in the middle of the board is the word imagine. And part of that is the video that LifeVantage rolled out several years ago.
It's like 9 years old.
Yeah, it's an older video, but I can't help but cry every time I watch it because it just reinvigorates me to do what it takes to get there. And so imagine is right in the middle of it. But I said to Mark, now we need one that says imagined, past tense, and have all the pictures of things that have happened since we've been in LifeVantage.
Oh man, our life is so much richer and better because of our company and products and people that
the experiences and the people. It's just been amazing.
So imagined. A lot of that stuff has been imagined and accomplished, but we still have a lot further to go.
So I'm going to ask Mom for another cork board for Christmas.
Oh, that would be such a cool way to commemorate because, it's important for you two as well as leaders to look at, the people you've met and the relationships you've built and the successes you've had along the way so that, when you do face those times of uncertainty or frustration that you can look back and go, it's been a beautiful journey and it's all been worth it.
Yeah, I'm so thankful that our buddy Dave Marquis showed us an ABC primetime report almost 13 years ago, and that we said yes. And
after you ignored it for 3 months,
I did. It took him.
That's usually how it goes after ignoring it for 3 months.
Gripping on us to get our attention. But Dave, Mark, if you're listening, thank you so much. And thanks for leading. And we love now being a part of it. So, yeah.
Oh, well, Mark and Lori, we can't imagine our LifeVantage family without you. You two are just such bright lights, and you are so warm and kind and inviting to everyone you meet. And thank you so much for sharing your experience with the Evolve changes and some great advice for our listeners on how to lead themselves and their teams through change. I think this is going to be such a great episode and a blessing to all those who are listening to it. So thank you for being with us here today.
Well, we're so humbled. Thank you so much for the invite.
So humbled.
And you are a great conversationalist. You make it very easy.
So easy.
Well, it's fun when you're sitting down with your LifeVantage family. It's just like a little reunion.
Isn't that the truth? That's so fun.
Right. I can't wait to see you in a couple of days. A few days. I
know. We'll get to see you guys in just a few days in San Antonio. And thanks for all you're doing to prepare for convention as well.
Well, we're excited. And thanks again. We really appreciate the chance to just share and talk and be together.
Awesome. Well, Activation Nation, thank you for being with us today to hear a little bit from Mark and Lori about their experiences. And we look forward to seeing you in person in San Antonio.
Thank you for tuning in to the Activation Nation podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Tell your friends and share your biggest takeaways from today's discussion with anyone who could benefit from them. This episode is sponsored by LifeVantage Legacy, a nonprofit dedicated to improving lives and building a lasting impact for those in need around the world. Learn more at lifevantage.com. We look forward to sharing more with you during next week's conversation. Thanks for listening and being an important part of the LifeVantage community.